Oh hey guys, welcome back. Here I have my Ein Odin. I waited for about 5 months for this to arrive after pre-ordering it about a year ago, and it arrived in late January. And guess what? They're already making a new one. Now it's trying to target a different audience than this device did, so I guess you could say that they aren't that similar, but it's an example of a problem that I've noticed in this industry that I want to discuss today. And yes, this is a video kind of based off of a Retro Dodo video. And their video on this topic was great as well, so you should go watch it after you watch this one. I'll try not to repeat anything, but if I do repeat something that they said, it's because it was a very good point. So I'm gonna talk about it as well. So as I'm sure we've all noticed, this market moves very quickly. It's posed a problem that I'm sure has affected newcomers because it's hard to settle on just one device to buy if in a month, maybe that same company or another company is going to release a device that's better or more comfortable or just overall like a better experience than the device you bought. So it's hard to settle on one device to buy. There are so many companies trying to target this already kind of niche market through portable PCs, and unless someone is willing to go down a rabbit hole, they're probably just going to look at a video, say, oh, that looks good, buy it, and then see a bunch of other ones continuing to pop up and maybe regret their purchase. But for those of you that actually like watching these kinds of videos and videos where they show off these devices, which I hope to be able to do in the future, I'm sure some of you, at least some of you, probably most of you, have put off buying one of these devices or another one of these devices because of how fast they move. Like, what's the point of buying an Neo Air if the Neo 2 is going to come out in September and is going to be more powerful? I'm sure you could say that price plays a factor in like buying all of this, and I'm sure it does. But when the cheapest option of the Neo Air is like $500, and reviewers say that while it's great for what it is, it doesn't have a great battery life, just buy a Loki, an Ein Loki. And that's another problem that turns into just so many companies making these devices that it's hard to recommend just one of them. I hate to sound like such a shill for Ein because I'm sure that's how I've been sounding for the past few months. But with the base Loki being like $489 with a bigger screen and a better battery life, you're missing the OLED screen, but you're getting a bigger screen. I think it's just a better option, and the Loki has a better processor. But you see what I did there? I just recommended you buy one of these devices over the other because of price and power. Now imagine that happened every month, like once a month. I would do that. Like, I'd recommend you pre-order a device over this one or this one because price and power. You don't have to imagine it because we're currently living in that scenario. The rate at which these devices release is hurtful to people's wallets and also can influence the content they watch. Because if a device releases like every month from like the same company, you're not going to see much of an improvement, but also it depends on the price and power. Like, if you title something the best portable handheld emulator for $500, people are gonna be interested because that's $5,000 in a portable PC. But I'm in a unique position because I make videos about these devices. But while I've gotten to a place where companies will actually show interest in working with me, I still ordered the Loki Max for myself, knowing that other devices would release in between pre-ordering it and it actually getting into my hands. And I did that with a little bit of hesitation. I knew I would buy it, like I wasn't gonna cancel my order, but I did it not just to have, but to see how Ein would play out in this portable PC market and to have it for content in general to show it off to you guys. But buying it in a year where a bunch of other devices will be releasing and I know that it won't come till later in the year is just a little hard to justify, especially considering it's not launching till later this year. The AOK Zoe A1 device was announced after the Loki and releases in like a week. Same with the Neo Air. They both were announced after, or at least put up for pre-order after, and are releasing this month, which again makes it a little hard to justify buying a device that's not releasing till like November, December, but it's mostly for content on my side. And because Ein has built up a good reputation so far with their one device, that if they break that reputation with the Loki, it'll be very interesting to see and make content about. That's kind of a good way of transitioning to another topic that I think is smaller but just as important, and that's that a lot of these companies will kind of take your money and just dip for a few months. That's what Ein did last year, but it was their first device, so it's understandable. And for the Loki, they've taken the Valve way, which is the smart way, which is letting you put down $25 and pay the rest when your device is ready to ship, which is a very smart move because it's like you're not taking all of my money and I can still cancel my order, but it shows that they are confident enough that they will let you just reserve it. Except when I went to pre-order my Loki Max, that option wasn't available. So I couldn't pay $25, I had to pay full price. It's not a problem because I know I'm keeping the device, I'm not going to cancel it, but still wanted to bring it up. Thinking about this through my shoes or my flip-flops that I'm wearing right now, I'm content with my Loki Max order. I know I'm going to make content with it and I know I'm going to use it because of how much I've used my Odin and how much I like the form factor. But for newcomers, I can't imagine this not being confusing. There are so many companies and devices releasing stuff so often and so soon that it's even hard for me to figure out what's the best price value. Like currently, I think it's probably the Loki because the Odin form factor is my favorite form factor right now because of the grips, the layout. I wish it was a little bit taller, but that's a me issue. And it's a very nice design. And the base Loki is going to be $489. So I think for right now, that's the best price value. But I don't know, another company could announce something next week and that would be the best price value. See how fast this industry moves. It mostly comes down to preference, like which device you buy, like what device design you like more. Like if you like the design of the AOK Zoe more than the Odin, you're probably going to go with that or the Loki. But specs and like design matter a lot for people. But the way these companies are trying to compete with each other by racing out these devices can lead to like some good devices and great devices, but can also lead to some devices that probably should have spent more time in the oven. Like the Aya Neo Air, I was watching a few videos from like Retro Game Corps and Bob Wolf and stuff like that from those people, and they all said that it's expensive and the Steam Deck is more worth it because the battery life isn't there, the screen is small, and the OLED's nice, but the screen's small, and it doesn't have great performance in terms of some like emulation that I'd want to do. So I wouldn't even buy it. But I don't own the device, so don't take my word for it. Well, go watch their videos. I'm sure these devices are great, but it makes me wonder how much is actually going into them, like how much product design and just stuff like that is going into the devices if we're getting a new one every other month from these companies. Like GPD has been taking their time. I think they recently released the WinMax 2. And I mean, if they can work on like that device, their like Win series, stuff like that, if they can work on the devices, make them good, that's not a problem. Like, I know a lot of their devices have been pretty lackluster, especially in terms of like, what was that slide? They had a sliding device. I can't remember what it was called, but it had like a slide up keyboard. It was kind of like a Switch, but not really. And I remember it was pretty lackluster, especially in terms of like how the controls were laid out. But if they can spend time designing a device and make it look nice and play nice, then that's a good strategy. I haven't watched any videos on the WinMax 2, but the way it looks and like the kind of slide overs, actually I watched ETA Primes. The way those kind of slide overs for the controls go over the controls, it looks really nice. And the way Taki Udon talked about the previous versions made me think that it's not as uncomfortable as it looks. But once again, I don't have my hands on the device, so don't take my word for it. But if GPD can take the time and release a good device, like twice a year, like one Android and one Windows or two Windows devices, then that's a smart business strategy because you're making good devices while also not releasing them to hurt the consumer's wallet. I heard the XP was pretty lackluster, but the XP Plus I heard was pretty good. It seems they're improving their quality. I don't know if anything will ever live up to the XD Plus though. But that's all I really wanted to say. If you have any issues with the market that I didn't mention, let me know down in the comments. And while you're down there, why don't you give this video a like and subscribe? I hit 1,000 a few weeks ago and I'm up at 1,050, so I know I'm not gonna go below 1,000. And my video from from 2 weeks ago kind of flopped, and the one from last week doesn't exist. So I need this video to do well. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next week with something exciting. My Retroid Pocket 3 is supposed to start shipping on Saturday. So maybe I'll have it in time for next week. Who knows, though? I'll see you then. Bye-bye.